Imagine walking into a laboratory. A scientist opens a small incubator. Inside, growing quietly in a dish, is an embryo that is part human and part animal. Not science fiction, not mythology. Real research happening today in labs connected to places like the Salk Institute for Biological Studies and the National Institutes of Health. And before your imagination jumps straight to monsters from a horror movie, let's clear something up. Scientists are not creating human-animal hybrids for curiosity or chaos. They are trying to answer one of the most difficult questions in medicine. How do human organs form, and how can we repair them when they fail? But to understand that story, we have to go back thousands of years to a creature that existed only in myth, the original chimera. Long before laboratories existed, ancient storytellers described a terrifying creature, the chimera, a beast with the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and the tail of a serpent. According to legends written by poets like Homer, the chimera breathed fire and terrorized the countryside until it was defeated by the hero Bellerophon riding the winged horse Pegasus. The chimera symbolized something ancient humans both feared and wondered about. What happens when different forms of life merge? For thousands of years, the answer was simple. It was impossible. Nature kept species separate. Until biology started discovering something surprising. Nature had already been doing this, quietly. The hidden chimeras among us. Here's the twist. Real chimeras already exist. In fact, some humans are biological chimeras. During pregnancy, cells sometimes pass between mother and child in a phenomenon called microchimerism. A mother can carry a few cells from her child for decades. Some people even carry cells from a twin that disappeared early in development. In other words, your body may contain DNA that isn't entirely yours. Biology has always been messier than the neat categories we like. And once scientists realized this, they started asking a bold question. The scientific breakthrough. What if we could insert human stem cells into an animal embryo? Not to create monsters, but to study human development. The key to this idea came from a discovery by the scientist Shinya Yamanaka. In 2006, Yamanaka showed that ordinary cells could be reprogrammed into induced pluripotent stem cells. These cells behave almost like embryonic stem cells, meaning they can transform into neurons, liver cells, heart cells, nearly any tissue in the body. This discovery was so revolutionary that Yamanaka won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. Now imagine taking those cells and placing them into a developing animal embryo. The human cells begin participating in development. The result? A chimera organism. What scientists are actually doing? Let's slow down here because this is where imagination tends to run wild. Researchers are not building half-human creatures. Most experiments involve tiny numbers of human cells inside mice or pigs. For example, scientists at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies have created human-pig chimeric embryos. The goal? To see whether human cells could eventually grow into transplantable organs. Why pigs? Because their organs are roughly the same size as ours. And here is the medical reality. According to data from organizations like the World Health Organization, millions of people worldwide need organ transplants. Many die waiting. If scientists could grow a human-compatible kidney or liver inside an animal host, the transplant shortage could disappear. One pig, one organ, one saved life. But the deeper story goes even further. The real purpose, understanding life. Chimera research isn't just about organs. It helps scientists answer questions like, how does the human brain develop? What causes diseases like Alzheimer's? Why do some genetic disorders appear during development? To study those processes directly in humans would be unethical. So, researchers use animal models with human cells. For instance, human neurons inserted into mice have helped scientists study neurological disorders. Some mice with human brain cells actually show improved learning ability, which sounds dramatic until you realize the change is subtle, like giving the mouse a slightly better memory. No tiny philosophers are writing poetry in lab cages. Relax, science fiction will have to wait. The ethical debate. Now here's where the story becomes complicated and fascinating, because chimera research sits at the crossroads of biology and philosophy. Institutions like the National Academies of Sciences have spent years debating ethical boundaries. Questions include, what if human cells contribute to an animal's brain? Could an animal develop human-like cognition? Should there be limits on which organs can contain human cells? Most current research follows strict rules. Human cells should not dominate the brain. Embryos are often destroyed early in development. Experiments require heavy oversight. Science is advancing, but cautiously, because every discovery here touches something deep about identity. The deeper rabbit hole. And now we arrive at the philosophical twist. Biology once taught us a clean story. Species were separate. Humans were distinct. But modern genetics keeps revealing something stranger. All life shares a common genetic language. Humans share up to 60% of genes with fruit flies, 85% with mice, and 98% with chimpanzees. Life is less like separate kingdoms and more like variations on a shared biological code. Which means when scientists create a chimera, they are not mixing alien species, they are rearranging pieces of a deeply connected evolutionary tree. Nature already wrote the language. Science is just learning to edit the sentences. Humor break. The Internet reacts. Of course, the Internet reacts differently. Whenever people hear the word chimera, they imagine things like pigmen walking around hospitals, cows with human faces, or some kind of laboratory minotaur applying for citizenship. Relax. Real chimera research looks much less dramatic. Mostly it looks like scientists staring at microscopes while arguing over funding grants and coffee quality. The real monsters in laboratories are usually deadlines. The future. The next decade may bring astonishing breakthroughs. Scientists are exploring whether chimeras could help grow transplant organs, model complex diseases, test treatments safely, understand early human development. If successful, this research could transform medicine, and the myth of the chimera would gain an unexpected twist. The creature once symbolized fear of unnatural life, but modern science may turn that idea into something else, a tool for healing. The ancient Greeks imagined a creature made of many parts. Today, scientists are exploring a biological version of that idea, not to create monsters, but to understand life itself. And sometimes the most powerful discoveries begin exactly where mythology once stood, at the boundary between fear and curiosity. If this story made you rethink what biology is capable of, comment, "Life is stranger." And if you want the next episode, the even deeper rabbit hole, scientists growing human organs in animals, the organ farm debate. Because the future of medicine may already be growing quietly inside a laboratory.